even keeping up with the news, there's probably a bittersweet moment for them because I'm quite sure they read about the NCAA where they officially allowed athletes to make money from endorsements, which is crazy when you think about it because this is something that's been going on for decades. From hearing Chris Webber talk about when he was playing in Michigan, and he saw his jersey going on sale for like $100, but he didn't have he had less than like maybe $2 in his pocket. So like, I think this is a huge thing that's happened for the NCAA, especially. You guys have any opinions on it?
Yeah, I'm about time, about damn time, and they knew that. Hey, if shit doesn't fucking change, all these basketball players, they're gonna end up going to the fucking G League, go to some league over in Europe, somewhere, some LeVar Ball's junior basketball league that would have taken off. These young athletes, student athletes, they're playing and they're playing broke. There's no way that a kid who comes from the hood who couldn't provide for himself and he's going to college because he's hoping to get to the NBA, he's struggling in fucking college financially. Family back at home still struggling and shit. And he sees his jersey being sold for thousands of dollars. His selling out arenas, people there cheering him on, motherfuckers seeing him come into play, and he's not making a dime and a cent.
Yeah.
You know, like that, how fucked up is that? So if the colleges don't want to set up a financial salary for these student athletes, that's their choice. Still a little fucked up, but whatever, that's their choice. But let the athletes get money off of endorsements. Imagine if Zion Williamson got a Nike deal while he was playing for Duke. He would have been financially set. I mean, now shouts out to Zion because, he never came out and complained about money or anything like that. But what I'm saying is just like, this helps the kids out. I'm not saying every student athlete is going to be getting endorsement deals because some student athletes are only good enough just to make it to college. They're not good enough to even be looked at to be drafted into the NBA. But the ones that are obviously going to be top 10 draft picks or they're going to be stars in the NBA or whatever, blah, 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 and they're hurting for money and stuff like that, why can't they get endorsement deals? It's because what's going to end up happening is the NCAA, they're going to start losing athletes. These athletes are going to find other means to go somewhere else to make money. Now, for basketball, I think it was mainly a problem for basketball, and it's still going to be a problem for football because in football, there's no other avenue for you to get drafted in the NFL without going to college. And it's been rare when you have like walk-ons. Rare. Usually when they get somebody who's a walk-on, practice squad. Hey man, you're here to get tackled and fucked up. See if the playbook works. And that's it. I mean, you laughing, but
But I know what you're saying. But they get paid in like NFL. I'll say like riding the bench or like being on the practice squad. You're making decent money. I'll put it like that.
Yes, you're making decent money, but not everybody's being selected to be in the practice squad. That's what I'm saying.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
And even then though, like that's like once you get to you got to get to that stage. You know what I'm saying? Versus like when you're still in college as a collegiate athlete, like you don't have those financial resources. And I think one of the beauties of this is, as you said, like, hey, now there are athletes, and you hear stories of athletes or people that may have taken a different path in life because they didn't have financial resources. So they couldn't stay at the college. Or like you said, like there are going to be athletes that play on a team that that may just be there on like some partial of a scholarship, or they may be a walk-on onto a college team. And they may be good, but at the same time, they still have to cover tuition, and maybe the tuition isn't fully covered. In those cases, you can have an endorsement deal that you may be able to actually factor that in. Because even though I do believe like you have athletes like someone like Master P. Son, for instance, Hershey Miller, He hasn't even started. He's going to go to Tennessee State University, I believe, which is a HBCU, where he hasn't even started playing yet. But he's gotten from a tech company, he got a $2 million deal for 4 years. So that means $500,000 every year of college for him in this case, right? So I think when you have like every athlete's not going to get that deal, but you'll have some kid that may get some type of time every so often, some burn on the court or whatever. And he may be one of those players that may be there for 4 years. I'm quite sure that there'll be a certain class, maybe Class C, is like, hey, we want to give you an endorsement deal for $30,000 for a year. To play basketball in college, 18, 19 years old, making $30,000, and you don't have to do anything but just get up and be an athlete. I think the talent pool may become even bigger.
No, and also to piggyback off you, it stops the one and done.
Yes,
a lot of people go to college for 1 year, then jump. Hey, I'm going to the NBA draft. Blah blah blah. This shit with the endorsements and they're able to make money off their likeliness and all that stuff. It stops the one and done for a lot of athletes, because now you have some athletes who are going to be like, yeah, I could be here for 2 to 3 years. You know what I mean? And so I just feel like it's like about damn time.
Yeah. I think it's just the right thing to do too. Like, it seems like just greedy for them not to give these athletes their money, especially when they're making money off of these athletes. Football, like college football, is a big thing. And I know that none of us like closely follow it, but there is a group of people that truly enjoy that, specifically in like the southern states is what I'll say. You know, Texas A&M and all that shit. They make a killing off these players. So it's just like, it just seems like the right thing to do, that they should be getting paid at the least for their likeness.
Right. Absolutely. And I think I think we actually were I think all three of us were actually having a phone call one day when this news kind of dropped. Mm-hmm. And I remember saying, like, my biggest concern was my biggest concern at the end of the day is making sure these kids get like financial advisors, or like even like I believe Lau had suggested, like, yo, giving them a class or something, some type of mandatory class if you want to be an athlete at this point, because I think it's so much more beneficial for them to know how to work the money. Because if you know how to work with the money, like you said, hey, this will force some athletes, some students that, like we always saw, oh, he's a one and doneer, and he's one and done, and eventually what happens is that player may end up becoming a bust in the NBA, let's say, right? And it just becomes like a journeyman. And the thing will always be, well, if he had just stayed in college 1 or 2 more years, he probably would have been a better player, a more developed player. Like, you look at Dwayne Wade, he went to college. I think he did all 4 years before he left to go, or he did like 2 or 3. I think he did at least 3 or 4 years in college before he came into the league. And like, he's much more developed player than some of the people he came into class with, even though it's a great class. But nonetheless, right? It's just that in itself. Like, yo, if now the money won't be as big of an issue if like these kids know how to use the money properly. You know how to use the money properly, and then you take that money and say like, hey, I can make this money work for me while I'm in college, still have fun, still be able to buy whatever I want to buy, have all the fun I want to have without worrying about, oh, like, okay, I'm going to be broke at the end of my senior year. I'm going to be broke at the end of my senior year, and now I got to keep playing to get this bag all over again. And then saying, well, I'm going to just leave and try to go to the league and make a couple $1 million. So I think for the talent pool, I think this is a lot better. I do think it's going to be much more efficient for the NCAA, especially for all their athletes. And on top of it, I think it may lead into like a couple classic things just returning from what we remember of like NCAA when we were coming up. So,
So are you giving a hint at anything in particular?
I mean, well, I think there's a couple things that are being whispered, but I think we'll get a little bit into it in a bit.